Cramer. Welcome to Mad Money. Welcome to Cramerica. Other people make friends. Hey, look, I'm just trying to make a little money. My job is not just to entertain you, but to put it in context. So call me at 1-800-743-CNBC. Tweet me at Jim Cramer. We're always one posting, one whisper away from rallying with a client. As long as we recognize that the president's in control of the stock market, at least when he wants to be, we can make sense of this tape. And that's my conclusion when I look at the averages, which were down badly in the morning, and then rebounded with the Dow gaining 35 points. S&P rising 0.41%, NASDAQ gaining 0.67%. Quite a comeback from the lows. Today at around 10:30, with the market looking real ugly, a casualty of no talks with the Chinese this weekend. CNBC's own Im Javers came on air and reported that President Donald Trump and the Chinese President Xi Jinping are likely to speak this week. The expected discussion wouldn't happen today, he reported, but it was likely to happen very soon, in the words of the senior White House official Javers spoke with. And with that one report, the market did an entire 180.
That was easy.
Funny, we saw the same exact pattern on Friday. Market going lower, looked like it could really spiral down after the president's "No more Mr. Nice Guy" Truth Social posting early Friday morning. Then, during the farewell event for Elon Musk at the White House Friday afternoon, the president says something positive about talking to Xi, and the market flies right back, allowing the month of May to finish in an extremely positive way, the strongest since 1990, with a gain of more than 6%. So what does this tell us about the stock market? First, it says that the president remains completely in the driver's seat, regardless of his mercurial nature. No, one thought. He hasn't really delivered on his promises at all yet, at least when it comes to trade. No one has come to the table from Europe or Asia, except for the UK. We already had trade surplus with. Can you imagine anyone else leaking that the talks could be back on after nothing happened this weekend? We're told the talks could be coming this week. Really? I mean, do we even know? A single anonymous source turned this whole market around today. Incredible. It gets worse. The Chinese are attacking our government's handling of semiconductors, and tit for tat, they're now slow-walking licenses for key rare earth minerals. In other words, it's not that nothing happened this weekend. Things actually got worse this weekend. Now American companies are complaining they're not getting rare earth magnets that are critical for the auto industry and the Defense Department, for that matter. Amazing that we let the Defense Department be hostage to China, but they have a stranglehold on these rare earths. Given that both sides are taking an ever harder line, with a phone call with Xi even accomplish anything? The answer? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all whether we accomplish anything. This market's so hopeful that President Trump will do what's right for stocks that it's blind to the truth. He is happy to have operators leak just about any story to stem a decline, but he's not happy to have a genuine trade peace with China. Let me give you the details. We know that the Chinese desperately want, what do they want? NVIDIA's chips. That's their whole complaint. The market, again, so hopeful, sent NVIDIA stock flying on the news of potential talks. Buyers are betting that Trump will change course and allow NVIDIA to sell up to $50 billion worth of chips, to China this year alone. And China will cut us a break with our rare earth needs. The art of the deal. Yet this stance, leaked by still one more White House official, seems pretty definitive. Maybe it's all in negotiation, another hopeful view this market keeps taking. Or maybe it's over. But does anyone truly believe that this administration will give China what it wants? Hey, anything's possible. That seems a stretch to me. Even Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, said the president has a plan. By the way, I think Jensen makes a very compelling case when he argues that we should let NVIDIA sell those chips to the Chinese, because otherwise China will indeed invest much more heavily in their own semiconductor industry. Wouldn't it be better to blunt China's efforts to leapfrog us and keep them dependent on our chips, the same way we're dependent on their rare earth minerals? Sadly, the White House says no. I think it makes a ton of sense. There's a larger issue here. While Wall Street remains constantly optimistic that the government will do something good for private industry, our stocks keep getting walloped. Case in point, Dell. Now, I loved the quarter Dell reported last Thursday. It was huge, and the buyback was incredibly aggressive. This company's a true believer in itself, which is good for Dell. Good for NVIDIA, by the way, one of the key component makers. Great business. But on Friday, the stock actually went down. One possible reason. The government's General Services Administration is trying to put the squeeze at federal contractors, including Dell. According to the Wall Street Journal, the GSA is, quote, asking executives to justify their work and find areas to cut. Do you know how many of these federal contractors buy their PCs and servers from Dell? It's definitely not a small number. Now, these tech-oriented government contractors and consultants, they have seen their stocks eviscerated. Booz Allen Hamlin stocks plunged from 129 to 103 over the past week and a half, 129 to 103, after its grim guidance in anticipation of more federal spending cuts. Now, I think Dell's doing tremendously, but if the government keeps cutting back on its tech spending, that's going to hurt them, too. Hence the $3 decline for Dell today. Sure, the White House periodically looks like it's going to do something for business, like this trip by 3 cabinet officials to Alaska, jump-started an incredibly expensive natural gas pipeline, one that's unnecessary because we have so much gas in the lower 48 states, and that's not in the Arctic. It's not in a wildlife preserve. Not that East Texas feels like a wildlife preserve. The feds had to get involved because the energy companies aren't interested. Too costly. It's kind of like how the administration favors opening federal lands for drilling in the lower 48. While cheaper and cleaner than drilling in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, it's not cheap enough to justify drilling in these places with oil at $62 a barrel. Of course, sometimes we get something genuinely good from the White House for business. Our tariff-happy president just doubled the duty on imported steel from 25 to 50%, something that helps a couple of very good steel companies, but hurts every company that makes things out of steel. Did you see how badly the auto companies acted today? It's maybe called a push. Ultimately, I believe the president will end up helping business. A big part of these trade negotiations is Trump helping Boeing sell expensive planes, while GE Vernova sells similarly expensive turbines. Put that chart, GEV, up. It's unbelievable. NVIDIA and many other tech companies like Cisco racked up big wins when the president visited the Gulf monarchies. But against that, consider that on nearly every quarterly conference call I've listened to since Liberation Day, companies have had to quantify their tariff hit. It's been brutal. Just ask shareholders of the Gap, which plunged from 28 to 22 on Friday. I don't even want to think about what's happened to Apple because it dared to move some iPhone manufacturing from China to India. Trump's hitting those phones with a 25% tariff because he wants them to be made in the U.S. From Apple's perspective, it's probably cheaper just to pay the 25%. So we have to appreciate the market's unrelenting optimism when a nameless White House staffer can save the day by downloading the prospects of a phone call with President Xi. It just reminds us how bullish investors really are right now. They just only seem bearish. Bottom line, we have to be ready for disappointment because we've seen it over and over and over again. This administration is perfectly willing to disappoint the stock market, not Bitcoin, but the stock market, to advance their agenda. And it's foolish that you should believe otherwise. Hey, speaking of Texas, Jim in Texas. Jim.
Hello, this is Jim Cramer
Jim.
from Houston, Texas.
From Houston. Fantastic. I love Houston. What's going on?
Well, first of all, I want to wish you a warm booyah to Mr. Sir James and his royal entourage.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
10 years ago, I retired and started watching Mad Money. As soon as the club was formed, I joined the club.
Fantastic.
And as a result of the diversified portfolio and the sage advice that I've gotten from the club, my nest egg is now bigger than what it was when I retired.
That's what I want. That's what I want, even though he's not working. That's good news. How can I help you now?
Well, even though it's a diversified portfolio, I'd still like to improve it. And the one thing I'm looking at now is something to help with all the hassles going on with the trade talks. And I've been thinking about Netflix. The problem is every time I look at Netflix now, it's going up and up and up.
Well, Jim, here's what you do with a situation like Netflix. What you do is you buy a little, okay? Just take, bite it. Just bite it. You have to. Bite some off. Buy a little. You want to buy 100? Go buy 20. And then work it down. But don't let it get away from you because it is, I would tell you, this Netflix, this may be still the best growing stock in the entire market. Rick in Michigan. Rick!
Jimmy Chill.
A
long-time listener, long-time caller, and club member. I want to, thank you for everything you've done. And I have a question on a bank. Used to be a Cramer fave.
Okay.
This bank was planned to merge with TD Bank back in 23, but the timetable, was kind of cut short. I'm wondering, with First Horizon,
I like First Horizon very, very much. I like it very much. I think it should be bought. It's a terrific situation, and I'm still thinking that what the heck happened to that deal because, man, whoever buys that franchise is going to do incredibly well. That is a nice growth franchise. All right, today's action is a reminder of exactly how bullish investors really are. But we still got to be prepared for disappointment given how this administration is willing to let the market down in order to advance its agenda. But there's always someone from the White House willing to make a call. We just don't know who it is. On Mad Money tonight, last week we learned that President Trump will be doubling steel tariffs from 25 to 50%. So what could this mean for the domestic player that we like called Nucor? I'm going to dig into all the factors at play. Then there's this old adage in this business called sell in May and go away. Well, it turned out to be the exact opposite. It's dead wrong. I'm sharing to you why this strategy isn't working. And, you know, I was relatively anti-SPAC, but there were some trends. There's a couple that bucked the trend. I'm seeing a fire safety company, API Group, is doing just that when I sit down with the CEO. Won't that be something if we have a good SPAC? So stay with Cramer.
Don't miss a second of Mad Money. Follow @Jim Cramer on X. Have a question? Tweet Cramer. #MadMentions. Send Jim an email to madmoney@cnbc.com or give us a call at 1-800-743-CNBC. Miss something? Head to madmoney.cnbc.com.